This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, so we are, if you are just joining us, we are doing our Bible study and we're going through the Patriarchs by Beth Moore, encountering the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob on page 201. And we are actually in Genesis 42, sorry, thank you. Verse 22. So the brothers are at this point, they're speaking among themselves. Would you adjust that? Yes, you turn that one. The brothers are speaking among themselves. And let me just back up to Okay, speaking among themselves, they said, this has all happened because of what we did to Joseph long ago. We saw his terror and anguish and heard his pleas, but we would listen. That's why this trouble has come upon us. So in going back, we see a lot has taken place, and I won't go back to the conversation from last week. If you missed it, it was good. So go back to the last video, we'll pick up, and then come back to this one, right? So remember we were speculating a while back as far as what were the brothers thinking when he was in the pit? Well, guess what? Fast forward, we get a little bit of the answer right here. They ignored him. They ignored. So as far as if we were to read a couple of, go back to the chapters that Joseph was in the pit, and then read this and connect them to see, well, what was Joseph going through at that time. It really is telling you that really Joseph was feeling terror. He was scared. This was somebody who was going through a lot. He was feeling anguish. He was pleading to his brothers, and they would not listen. And I think this was what, a year ago that we had this conversation that maybe he thought they would come and get him. No, he thought he was gonna die. That's why he was in anguish. That's why he was pleading. That's why he was begging. It says that's why this trouble has come upon us. Oh boy, what trouble are they talking about? Go home. Tell your daddy to send Benjamin. How in the world are we gonna go to what we did to Joseph? Almost kill that. killed us. He felt, because remember, he was grieving. He was literally grieving for a long time. And when he was in grief over his father, he was in grief over his wife, he was in grief now over his son. And these scoundrels, he knew something was wrong. And why do I use such words, scoundrels? Because he knew they would be up to no good. Did he fully trust his sons? No. Because he knew they almost cost him his entire family more than once because of their behavior. So, didn't I tell you not to do it? Reuben asked, is this the time to have this conversation? Is this really the time? Reuben, who's Reuben? Let's see if you guys will talk.
Reuben, is that the baby brother?
First baby.
Oh, y'all just calling out stuff. No? All right, let me read the homework assignment. Okay. Who is Reuben? Okay, homework assignment. That's your homework assignment. Where I know he was a baby mama. He was one of Joseph's brothers, okay? So if that's your answer, I already know that answer. Okay. Didn't I tell you not to do it? So if they're having this conversation now, I would even want to know how much togetherness did they have after the fact? Did they have a whole lot of togetherness, or did this bring such a rift in their family? And that's what happens. Sometimes secrets bring divide in families, and sometimes it's many times it's at funerals and weddings that people come together, and people are saying, "Oh no, funerals and weddings tear people apart." No, sometimes funerals and weddings expose the rift and stuff that was there, and other stuff that goes on. And so in this case, this is not no funeral or no wedding, but it was surely a family.
I know that was
That
and he took
a whole mess, right? Okay. So didn't I tell you not to do it? So Reuben already had some character issues. We went through remember we went through several of them, and they had several issues. But you didn't listen. Now here we are, going to die because we murdered. Wait a minute.
the roof go away and he came back.
Wait a minute. Wait. So remember we had this whole conversation. Oh no, they sold him. Oh no, they sold him. Remember? Yeah, but sometimes people leave you for debt because they know. And I think I brought this up. I don't know if it's right, but sometimes when people turn you over to something, they know your end result is going to be that.
Or they
The-
looked at it and did.
Worked to death. That's
And I
slave.
think the example that I gave at that time is that I just remember giving the example that some people, when they were in a certain lifestyle, they entered a certain lifestyle knowing that the end result of it was going to be death. I know that's a couple months ago, but I believe that's the example that I gave. But here it is. Ultimately, they knew from their understanding that there would be no way after all of these years of them not seeing him and he hasn't made it back, that he could be alive. And did they fake his death? Yes. But they knew if he was alive, he would have been back. So he had to do that.
Yes, so
That assumption, of course. Of course, they didn't know that Joseph understood that as he was standing there. For he had been speaking to them through an interpreter. Now he left the room and found a place where he could. Imagine, he finally heard. They're having this conversation in front of him, and he finally heard that they understood what their intent meant. He didn't die, but he could. And there may have been somebody who have meant harm and danger to you. It may not have happened, but it was only because of the grace of God. I thank God that people can't wish you the worst.
True, true.
And it just happened. Oh, thank you, God. Or even put you in the worst situation or set you up for the worst. Oh, thank you, God. Because if it was up to that, he would have been 6 feet under. All right. So, returning, he talked some more with them. Then he chose Simeon from among them, and he had him tied up right before their eyes. So I'll pause there and we'll go to the questions. All right. So finally get to the question. Okay, why did the brothers think this misfortune had come upon them? Verse 21 through 20.
They knew what they had done to Joseph. And so they figured,
They finally, so that means they hadn't gone through anything in their life to this point. Yeah. But had they done some, but they've done some bad things. They kind of murdered a whole lot of people.
yes.
And
Oh, yeah.
a whole lot of
From
people.
city.
And they weren't kind of soft guys.
They were manly man.
They were fun.
Manly man.
Yeah, so they weren't necessarily the touchy-feely kind of people. And they weren't in every way. But I would like to say, even people who will do treacherous things have boundaries. Say, I will do a whole lot of things, but this is, I'm not talking about equally, because there's just certain people's hearts are turned over. They killed people with no remorse. So it wasn't necessarily the thought of Joseph's death. It wasn't even the thought of what they had to do. They had within them things that you would say, well, jealousy, envy, murder. They had a lot of things that people are like, you don't want those things in your heart. Selfishness, pride. But I think at the end of the day, they wanted the love of their father. And that's the part that I think in many messages get overlooked, that many times there are men who do certain things and they just want the attention from their father.
Because if they do, they need Joseph,
Yes,
so.
yeah, they were willing to go to the extreme to find that attention, to get that from that. And at the end of the day, the hurt that they caused their father once was not worth it a second time. So in their manliness, as you said, they had some level of compassion. All right. What kinds of feelings do you think were behind Joseph's hidden tears?
I think it could have been more than one kind of feeling. It could have, happiness as well as probably, he's human. He could have been angry too at some point. Happy to see that his brothers have the family there, and then angry because of what the brothers did.
Yes, I absolutely, because even throughout, you see he was poking and going around and being that younger brother, but he wanted to be where his brothers were.
True.
He did. And there's times where people do and we're complex beings do, and they want to be someplace where they just want to be loved. It's like, but this isn't good for you. They want to be there. Today I got pulled aside by a mom, and she said, "Hey, my son, he's being bullied by this other kid." And I'm like, well, what happened? What's going on? He said, well, he did this to me, and it hurt my feelings. So I did the same thing back to him. And I'm like, wait, now didn't we have this conversation before where a kid did something to you and you did it back to them? And you're still their friend? Why is it that you're having relationships with people who continue to hurt you? And the mom pulled me aside and said, I know what happened, because I'm having relations. I had to separate from dad because I was having a relationship with that, and he saw someone that continued to hurt me, and he's following them. And so he is learning, this is learned behavior. And so I told him, don't do that. And mom said, don't do that. But you know, words alone is not good enough. When actions say certain things, cycles of pain have to be broken. And so in Joseph, the pain was there. But thank God, he's like, this is not. But you see, these boys, they still had to deal with something that they themselves were going through, dealing with their own sins. And they learned some of that from the generation. What happened? Look back. If we go back and study backwards, a lot of it learned behavior. But that's not what we're talking about tonight. Okay. In verse 25, Joseph gave 3 orders regarding his brothers. What were they? Fill their, let's read. I had stopped in 25. But someone could read 25. And then we'll find out what the orders were.
Joseph gave orders to fill their bags with grain, to put each man's silver back in his sack, and to give them provisions for their journey after this was done for them.
So number 1,
Fill up their bags with grain.
okay, fill the men's sack with grain. Number 2,
Each man's silver back in their sacks.
okay. So they got what they came for, but they kept what they paid for.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
And
the third one is they were given provisions for their journey.
and they were given more than they came for. Man, it is not powerful? Because many times people think and this is not even, this is on another note, but there's many times people come thinking that they're in a dry place and come ready to offer a sacrifice to God. And God is saying, listen, not only are you going to go with what you came with, you're going to go, I'm going to fill you. And you're going to get what you had. I'm going to fill you. You're going to get, and I'm going to send you the good. Thank you. But that's just a nugget you can take home and say, God, I thank you that when I come ready, I leave filled and I have more than what I can with. Anyhow,
Yes.
2 of these 3 orders were openly thoughtful and generous. But why do you think Joseph returned the silver to him? The silver his brothers had paid.
I can give you for instance, I went to a racetrack and I went inside. I just got coffee, and the young man said, "Don't worry about it." So that's like I was ready to pay with my silver for the cup of coffee, but he said, "Go ahead, it's free," you know. So that was a generous thought from Joseph to let them know, even though I told you to leave one of y'all here, you can still take your money back, and I'm gonna give you food for your trip, and you'll have grain to take with you as well. So he was showing that the love of God is still present, even though like I said last week, why did Joseph need an interpreter? Because he's been gone so long, he forgot his dialect, or he was so bad he didn't want his dialect to lash out or anything like that. We didn't touch that yet, but we'll figure it out.
Well,
I don't know if
no,
you read
no,
that.
yeah. Well, just like for example, just like I've been here since I was young. Sometimes I have to be talking to Jamaican to drop down into.
I like it. Understand where they be saying. On the video.
I be laughing because I be understanding every
What?
word too.
I be frustrated trying to understand. I don't get some of it.
So why do you think he gave back the silver?
Because he was brothers.
Okay.
Yeah. Even though he done cried. He done went there and cried. So and, it's possible that he recognized some of them. Even though they were older, I don't know how many years had passed, but
Oh, he knew who they were.
yeah.
They
So
introduced themselves.
oh yeah, okay, so that's fine. And then
They said, sir, they said there are 12 of us,
oh yeah,
and our father. So, yeah,
so he knew who they were.
he knew who they were.
So that's why he gave money back.
And anybody else? Why do you think he gave the money back? They paid fair and square for it.
Yeah, but he wanted. I guess it was his family and his dad. Too. You think about his dad and his little brother.
So that's why he gave the money back in verse 2. I have heard there is grain in Egypt. Go down and buy some for us before we all start to die. Because really that's household money.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna come. That's our family money. Yeah. So
And I like what Pastor Hattie said, that, it's his family. So
Yeah.
why don't, and let me just bless my family and help my family.
yeah.
So put the money back in their sack.
Yes. All right. So we are stop here. And so let's go next week. We'll try to the rest of the verses, the chapter, and then we dive in further.